the Day, Own Your Life by Aubrey Marcus. Own the day, own your life sounds like focusing on every day, owning the day, and how it fits into the bigger picture, owning your life, of things. Google Books labels the author as an experimentalist, unconventional fitness junkie, and human optimizer. This is the type of vibe, though, that I get from writing down the chapter names. I also got kind of hungry while I was doing it. Some of this sounds pretty good, but I'm wondering what exactly these chapters are referring to, other than maybe just like recipes of certain meals and snacks. Some of them, one of them's called Chipotle Beef Bowl, and another one's called Momacha Hito. But yet this book still has some hype around it since it's publishing in 2018. So what's it about? Is it worth the hype? Let's talk about it. In this video, I'm going to go over chapters, things I learned, things that surprised me, things I really liked, things I wasn't maybe so crazy about. I'm also going to go over some standout quotes, who I recommend this book to, as well as what books maybe check out next. It might sound like a lot, but we do get through it. And just so you guys know, there are affiliate links in the description. If you guys buy anything through those links, like maybe this book, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. Chapter 1 is Morning Mineral Cocktail. I like how he compared how we wake up our bodies to how we wake up our cars. 7 hours or more and you haven't had any water. Let's just hit the snooze button, wake up another 30 minutes later, pour 20 gallons of scalding hot water all over our bodies, drink none of it, and drink a bunch of caffeine. As a nation, he said that we're chronically controlled by fatigue and the tools we use to fight it. The way this guy talks about drinking water as soon as you wake up, he talks about it like you couldn't do anything better for yourself. And honestly, since listening to this book, I admittedly have chugged a bunch of water every morning right after getting up. What I find fascinating about this chapter, and hopefully this book, is that while so many nonfiction books talk about optimal morning habits that set you up for the optimal day, perhaps most notably The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, the whole book is pretty much about that. Nothing against Miracle Morning, we love our Miracle Mornings on this channel. This one really is about the science behind a lot of that, why that sets you up for the most optimal day, and when you don't do it, why that sets you up for the least optimal day. Chapter 2 is Deep Breath, Deep Freeze. Marcus brings up Wim Hof, a guy who ran a marathon above the Arctic Circle and hiked past the death zone on Mount Everest in a blizzard, both shirtless. This dude, Wim Hof, he has not been sick in a decade. His joints don't ache. In fact, I'm gonna look up how old he is. 63, his joints don't ache, hasn't been sick in a decade. And probably a decade and a half now that this book came out in 2018 and it's 2023 and it's 11:50 at night and I should probably go to bed soon. But look this dude up, Wim Hof. People call him the Iceman, but he's not naturally like this. As Marcus said, he's not half penguin. A lot of our culture is built on the avoidance of difficulty and the pursuit of comfort. I used to take cold showers until I stopped taking showers in the morning, but I can tell you that I almost never ever wear a sweatshirt or coat. I genuinely don't remember the last time I wore a coat. When it's like below 50 degrees out, people constantly ask me, where's your especially my fiance, where's your jacket? It's freezing. Marcus uses statistics too to explain how embracing the cold water, cold showers, cold air, cold weather, coldness, it's hurting us, getting us sick and stressing us out. Chapter 3 is Classic Breakfast with Greens. See, you can see where I'm getting the hungry thing from, right? This is where health and science meets self-help. I love it. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Are there other books like this? Are there? It's this inherently imbalanced relationship that makes sugar probably the worst thing to happen to human health in the last 200 years. As consumption of our favorite sweet thing has increased over the decades, public health has deteriorated. Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and even cancer have been linked to blood sugar swings. The numbers speak for themselves. 30 million Americans have diabetes. 30 million Americans, guys, have diabetes. Cardiovascular disease is our leading cause of death. Childhood obesity is at epidemic levels with 1 out of 5 children clinically obese. Only 16% of women and 32% of men don't worry about their weight. The irony of all these statistics, of course, is that we have more gyms, diet coaches, juice bars, and health food restaurants than any other place on the planet by far, yet despite constant worry and myriad options, we are getting owned by our diet choices. For people who really get screwed up with this, like me, I'm a self-help junkie, but when it comes to self-health, I'll admit this, but forget it, okay? I gotta work on that. Cut sugar, cut it out of your breakfast. Cut it. Replace it with fats. He said to skip breakfast entirely. If you're not able to do this, which, I don't know, it sounds very unconventional. I see where these people are coming from saying he's unconventional. Chapter 4, essential supplements. Something I love about this guy is that he's very realistic, understanding, and humane too. He'll admit, hey, I'm like this too. I love cinnamon Pop-Tarts. He'll say, hey, this may be totally screwed up, but the world is screwed up and it's not really your fault. He'll still say, you have the power to change this for yourself and this is how. You'll get the sense that he's very head set on making himself succeed, but he's not going to emotionally scar himself in the process of doing so, and he likes to project that. And these two paradigms, you can tell that they intersect and work together really well the way he does this. Chapter 5, drive time, alive time. He talks in this chapter about making the most of your commute, and he brought out this mix of an analysis on the movie Office Space, which I've never seen, and statistics on driving and commute times. Marcus does this so comprehensively and accessibly, and those two words describe pretty much the whole book very well, which is something I liked so much about it. You learn about mindfulness and what he calls mindfulness, listening to an audiobook or podcast to self-educate. When people think they're informing themselves with the news, they fall into, did I even write this correctly? Narcotizing dysfunction. In some cases, the more you watch the news, the less likely you are to be an active, involved citizen because you confuse consuming information with acting on it. Chapter 6 is Momacha Hito. I did not know matcha had an entire Zen ceremony dedicated to it in Japan. You learn a lot in this book. It's the mama bear, he says, of afternoon pick-me-ups. No wonder why it's in so many food and beverage products today. You also learn about caffeine and tobacco. These are not actually bad for you, these two. But it is sad what he says it is about how we've taken the primary psychoactive chemicals from these and basically turned them into very addictive products that are kind of damaging. But something else I found interesting, a lot of people do talk down on e-cigarette vapes. I also learned that a well-respected London Royal College of Physicians paper suggested that those are probably no more than 5% as dangerous as cigarettes. Something I also love about this book is the 3 pointers. At the end of each chapter, he talks about the 3 most considerable talking and acting points from each one, named after the 3-point shots from when he played basketball, I think in high school. Chapter 7 is doing work. Doing the work, getting the work done. Here's one part that stood out from this chapter, talking about loving what you do. Through the eyes of a UFC fighter. This is very entertaining. Check this out. Training for a UFC fight sucks. It sucks so much worse than your job. You have a whole group of people trying to kill you every day. Trainers sucking the last bit of energy out of you. Media up your butt. A lot of the times you're away from your family. And the grand finale is the weight cut, where you starve yourself of all the food and water and then stand on a stage in your underwear in front of dozens of cameras and sometimes thousands of people. Then after all that, you may still get your butt kicked and spend your night in a hospital. If that is the life you choose for yourself, if that is your mission, you better embrace it. I think listeners with a bad money mindset might hear what he's saying about in this chapter about like his Zen fountain and miniature trampoline in his office. I bet they'll mention in bad reviews that, oh yeah, like it must be nice to have that much money. Oh, let him talk, you little freaking fruck. Chapter 8 is Chipotle Beef Bowl. Have yourself a good Chipotle beef bowl. There are certain things I learned in this book that I didn't expect to learn. Calories don't matter as much as we think. Sourdough bread is actually good for you. Garlic is very good for you too, and it's a rich source of antioxidants. It sounds random, but I swear it isn't. And I thought Chipotle beef bowl would be this like complex recipe or something he talks about for us, but he didn't really do that much at all. Marcus mentions a lot throughout the whole book that lunch is like a way to refresh and restart your day, which is reassuring and refreshing in a way. Think about it. If you don't have a good morning and your day gets screwed up, or you do have a good morning and then you get to work and something external comes into play, something someone said, a certain meeting that didn't go well, a certain sales call, etc., you still have another chance to take advantage of the rest of the day, and lunch is that chance. Chapter 9, the binaural power nap. This chapter reminded me of the scary Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Marcus said we have to accept that we are a tired nation, but I remember Walker noting in Why We Sleep that statistically speaking, sleepy driving is more deadly than drunk driving. Chapter 10 is training. This is an unexpected chapter about physical exercise and training. Unexpected, why? Because you learn about everything from why it's a good idea to follow CrossFit to the history of kettlebells. I know CrossFit's all the rage right now. Everyone's talking about CrossFit, but why it's a good idea to follow it? I feel like not everyone's talking about that, right? Chapter 11 is reset and reconnect. This was another crack at promoting connection to others with quality time as opposed to spending time on social media. What this guy says about smoking weed and drinking is probably not what you'd expect, but it is important to know when to tune yourself down and do things that leave you relaxed, leveled, and joyous. People who don't do this are so about their work that it takes the bulk of their daily focus. They are the most empty and miserable people around. Doesn't matter how much money they make. Seriously. This guy is very relatable. He is. He has a good energy, and you can hear it in his voice in the audiobook. You can tell he takes what he does seriously, but not so seriously that he is like a drone or something. He commonly brings up things like sex, poop, and farts, things that can be embarrassing and very private, therefore easy to joke and laugh about, and he'll incorporate that into what he's teaching. Chapter 12 is sensual steak salad. Some standout moments from the chapter about foods that prime your body best for sex are when he mentioned exploding from the front of your body instead of the back, letting out a fart that destroys the walls of your bedroom. And his fiance, just like mine, referring to popcorn as poop corn. Well, actually, I refer to it as that. She just doesn't want me to eat it because, well, you know why. Superfoods are mentioned here, like apple cider vinegar. Love my apple cider vinegar, and chia seeds, which I can't find anywhere. Probably get them on Amazon or something, who knows. Chapter 13, More Better Sex, the sex chapter. And of course, there's a sex chapter. Is fun, enlightening, and humorous. I would include some examples, but I do get more AdSense revenue when I don't talk a lot about that type of stuff. And I also think my grandmother watches these videos. You do learn about a lot about like hedonic tolerance, open discussion with your partner, like desires, boundaries, insecurities, etc., birth control, and plenty more. Nothing crazy, nothing ridiculous, nothing graphic. It's all very personalized. Chapter 14, turn off, tune in. Of course, to recharge, you have to unplug. Here you learn about social media fasting, how it works, why it's helpful, and how to make sure you do it without driving yourself insane, like a nut job, okay? Chapter 15 is Emergency Sleep Cocktail. This chapter features an amalgamation of tips on easier and better quality sleep. Because as he says, 60% of Americans say they struggle with regular sleep. Everything from breathing to pets, to temperature to plants, and air quality to playing the didgeridoo. Who knew that was a thing that helped with sleep? He even includes a sleepy time checklist. I have to say that I wish I followed all of this advice, and my sleep quality is just amazing because of it, but a few years ago, I started following some of it, and it's extremely rare. I actually don't even remember the last time it happened, that I wake up in the middle of the night, ever. And my fiance said that it's very hard to wake me up. I can sleep through volcanoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, apocalypse, etc. Chapter 16, lastly, is Bring It Home. He reminds us here to forgive ourselves for shortcomings, to do our best always, and to connect and stay connected with a tribe of people who are good for us to pay attention to, and more. Get ready to own it, guys. This book was an easy, vibrant, entertaining, and hilarious listen. It talked much more about health than I thought it would, but I found that to be the opposite of a drawback. If anything, Marcus's personality, humility, and sometimes silly sense of humor take you on a journey through a cultivation of better diet, personal care, workflow, exercise, personal life, sex life, sleep, and more. At the same time, if these topics weren't extremely boring and inaccessible to most people, obviously most people would regularly partake in them. But alas, they don't. So the way in which he might remind you to enjoy the progress as you make it and appreciate the life you're given as you build it into what you ultimately want it to be. Probably a top 5 contender for this year, seriously. Quotes: if you tiptoe into cold water, you're missing out on the rush of plunging in head first. When being right about something is your career, you have even more reason not to admit you might have been wrong. Our bodies basically make us walking construction cranes, and our minds love nothing more than to play Legos in real life. The average person works 90,000 hours in their lives. That's a long time to be miserable. It's never pain that is the problem. It is the suffering caused by resistance to that pain. Conventional is boring at best and ineffective, if not harmful at worst. Whatever you're into is not going to look like it does in the movies. Direction 1. This seems like the type of book, to me, for someone who's lacking in or wants more of physical energy, stamina, sex drive, and maybe struggling with lethargy. If that describes you, you may want to check this book out. It's a very cool, unique book. It's entertaining and educational. As a reviewer, I found it damn well organized too. Direction 2. If you like this book, you might like The Power of One More by Ed Mylett, on how doing just one more sales call, one more push-up, one more dollar in your investment or your savings account, you can skyrocket your results. Own the Day, Own Your Life by Aubrey Marcus. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out too. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I don't get why people watch this far in my videos and they don't subscribe, but if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.